the final day of Build a Page. I will do a wrap up tomorrow, but this is the final layout. Actually, it's kind of a 2-for-1 layout because it's also Christmas in February. I decided to pull out a page from my December daily. I have not done a whole lot in it yet. I've got quite a few of the background papers put into pages, and most of the pages have some embellishments with them, and I finally got the pictures printed out and all of the pictures are put into the right pockets. But that's pretty much as far as I've gotten. I did do a title page, so I kind of got the ball rolling, but now I need to do day 1 and day 2. So I'll probably just go through day by day and do them rather than jump around and just get the album done. So a lot of my pages I think are going to be really simple this year. We didn't do a whole lot over Christmas. We certainly didn't do a lot of the things that we normally do because I was still recovering from surgery and just I wasn't able to lift or push or pull anything over 10 pounds or, do too much. And I was still figuring out my eating and things like that. So, we didn't, go cut down a tree like we normally do or do any of the Santa Claus parades or we didn't head into Banff, anything like that. So it was a pretty quiet Christmas. And so I think the pages that I'm creating will definitely reflect that. There won't be a lot going on. But hopefully that also means that it's going to come together really quickly. And so, I did these 2 pages fairly quickly, and I think all the other pages will kind of come together just like these ones do. So that's a good thing. Then I definitely know I can get it done, and then I can go back and work on all the albums I don't have done, like 2021 and 2020 and 2019. I've got most of those started, but I definitely don't have them done. So anyway, so this paper, my background paper, comes from the Mix and Mingle collection from Simple Stories. That's the main collection that I'm going to be using throughout the album. So the first thing that I did was I just went through and kind of decided what pictures were going to go on what days, just, looking through my phone and finding the dates for things. And then once I knew where all the pictures were going to go, I went through the collection and picked out some papers that I thought might work with certain days. So basically that sort of started my album off. So I really, really love the whole like cluster of flowers, cluster of poinsettias on this paper. So that's what I wanted to do for day 1. These are all cut from 12 by 12 pages. So I definitely do have pieces left over, but I liked both patterns. So I'm going to keep this page front and back so that day 2 will be on the back, and that way I can use both patterns. I do that quite a bit because obviously I only have one piece for each pattern, and so I don't want to lose what might be on the back. So I'm going to be sharing pages for a lot of the days, and I didn't really want to cover up everything in that poinsettia, so I kind of put the pictures around the outside. It's our elf coming back, our toddler expert elf that came to visit us this year, and then our advent calendar. So there's the 5 kids calendars in one picture, and then our little man with his advent calendar, and then my little advent calendar that Sean bought for me, which was a tea one. So, a lot of pictures. Not every day is going to have 4 different pictures on it, but some days have way more than 4. That's just the way I go with December Daily. I know the point is to try and do maybe 1 picture a day that represents your day, but that doesn't usually work for me. But not every day this year will have multiple photos, so they won't all look quite as busy as this page does. But I just put those photos down. I fussy cut some of those leaves so that it actually looks like the poinsettia is sitting above the pictures and not the pictures sitting on top of the design. And then I had these cute little gnomes that I found from, they're meant to be cake toppers, or cupcake toppers, but I thought they were super cute. So I just pulled the toothpicks off and decided to put those down in the bottom. They sort of blend into the poinsettia a little bit, so they don't really stand out too much. And hopefully they don't take away from that flower too much, but they kind of gave me a cute little spot to go ahead and put that flare, which is what I will use for each of my days. So that's got the number 1 on it. And then I'm just going to add a touch of journaling, just explaining about the advent calendars and that our little man named his elf Santa Reindeer. I'm not sure if that name will stick next year, but for this year, that's what the elf was named. And that's it. I did add a few little enamel dots over some of the berries, but again, I didn't want to cover up all of that picture, so there's just a few of them here and there, and it was just really quick, really simple to come together. There's lots going on just because of the amount of photos and how big the picture of the poinsettias are. So I didn't want to go too overboard with extra embellishments or other, stickers or things that I could put on. So I thought that worked out really good. Then I'm just going to flip over and do page 2. So for page 2, I'm using the back of the paper. I really like that pattern. And then I had this little candy bag that I got in an advent calendar, like a scrapbooking advent calendar. And so I thought it might be really cute just to add a little interactive element, which is what I'm working on right here. So I basically took the bag, I cut the back off of it and left the bottom, but I folded it a little bit shorter so that bottom comes up a little bit higher on the back of the page, and that just creates a little pocket. I'm going to put a piece of foam right there, just so that will stop the tag, because I don't want to lose the tag too far down into the bag and then not realize that it's there to be pulled out. So I'm just going to make sure that it kind of stops where it needs to, so that the top of the tag always sticks out. And then because the bag isn't that much wider than the tag itself, I'm just going to use some of my quick dry glue to glue down the sides so that I don't need to worry about how wide my AGT tape or anything like that is, and my tag will still slip in there and fit. And so basically what I'm going to do with that tag is add 2 little pictures to the back. You'll see me do it. I'm going to make it sort of like a book so it opens up. Those are 2 cute little pictures of the deer that likes to come and visit me on my front step and eat my greenery that I have decorating my front step. And then I'm also adding this picture of our elf who is hanging out with the gnome. And I think I may have actually put those little cupcake toppers into this page, into the page kit, so that they could be used on this side with obviously the elf hanging out with the gnome, but they just kind of fit really nicely on page 1. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it and just leave it on page 1. And actually, my older kids have a lazy gnome that comes and visits them when they became too old for Santa to send an elf. He sends a lazy gnome every year, and the gnome doesn't do anything. It just sits on its shelf and it watches them, and it is super lazy. It doesn't move. It doesn't get into any trouble or mischief or shenanigans. And so that's okay, I think, putting them on day 1, because it kind of represents that portion of the tradition that we do. So I think I've talked about the lazy gnome a couple of times. If you are curious about it, let me know. It comes with a whole storybook and everything, but my older kids get that. So yeah, the gnomes are okay on the other side, but I do think initially when I put this kit together, I meant to use them on this side. But I kind of like, again, how just really plain and simple this side is. So I just matted that one picture and I plopped it down, and I had to put it down where you could see the cutouts from the other page. So I didn't really have too much option for where I was going to put the little candy bag and where I was going to put this photo. I knew I kind of had to cover up those holes. So that's where I stuck the photo. And then you just saw me do the tag. I basically just folded those two pictures in half. One side is on the tag, the other side is on a little 4x3 journaling card that has some reindeer on it, which aren't deer, but they were the closest thing I had. So that's what I ended up using for that, and just made that cute little tag, and then added a little sticker that said "Oh dear," and a little bit of journaling about how that's the one guy, actually it's a girl I think, that always comes and eats the greenery. But we usually have, oh gosh, sometimes we've had like 12 deer, a mom, and she's got 3 babies, and then there's a couple other moms and a couple of larger males who come, still adolescents, because their racks are still pretty small, but they're getting pretty big. Anyways, they're usually hanging out eating whatever they can find in our yard from our different trees and bushes and stuff that we have outside. So lots of deer in our town always, but that little guy or little girl always seems to be hanging out trying to eat my greenery from outside that I decorate at Christmas. So that's just what that journaling is. And then I added this fun little title that says, "Where did the elf go?" With those gold thickers. So I actually added that into the kit afterwards. That wasn't initially part of my kit. And then I added the number 2 little flare button that I have. And the other thing I added that isn't normally in the kit, or that I didn't originally put in the kit, was some teeny tiny little pearls that I popped into the centers you can see here of some of those little flowers. And that is it, a sprinkle of gold, and we are all done for day 5 of Build-A-Page and Christmas in February. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please check out all the links below so you can see everybody else who's playing along with Christmas in and the Build-A-Page ladies. And until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.
Mommy, she button, my channel.